Today, we're going to deconstruct the system behind, well, one of the greatest athletes of all time. And it's a system you can actually apply to pretty much any field. This is the Biles Law. Reinvent the standard, then break it again.
The year is 2013. A rising star named Simone Biles is facing this world of elite gymnastics that is just defined by a rigid, decades-old code of points. A code that pretty much restricted the perceived limits of human flight and tumbling difficulty. And you gotta understand, this wasn't just some rule book. It was the whole culture. A system that rewarded these tiny, safe steps forward. It valued clean, predictable routines way more than breathtaking, risky innovation. But here's the thing. Biles' talent wasn't incremental. No, it was explosive. Her defining moment wasn't about one single medal or routine. It was the systematic realization that her unique mix of raw power and its almost uncanny air awareness was so far beyond the current standard that she could do more than just win. She could literally rewrite the sport's rulebook permanently.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We're going to deconstruct how Simone Biles didn't just play the game, she completely reinvented it. We'll start with the world she entered, dig into the challenges that forged her, define her core philosophy, break down her operating system, and finally, really understand the legacy and the universal lesson it holds for all of us. Okay, first up, let's really get our heads around the system Biles was up against, what we're calling the unbreakable code. So this was a world governed by super conservative rules that prized predictable step-by-step progress. It was almost like it was designed to keep the sport contained, manageable, and, in the eyes of the people in charge, safe. This code created this really narrow path to victory, pushing athletes to perfect the skills that already existed instead of inventing entirely new ones. And that fostered a culture where pushing the boundaries, that was often seen as just unnecessarily risky, both for your safety and, frankly, for your final score. This slide right here, this frames the central conflict perfectly. On one side, you have the old standard, built on incrementalism. That means, you get rewarded for adding a little half twist here, a small connection there. It's rigid, it's conservative, but on the other side, you have Biles' potential. Her skills weren't just a little bit better, they were in a completely different dimension. We're talking explosive power and what you could call geometric complexity. Skills with so many twists and flips that they seem to defy physics. Take her signature floor move, the Biles. It's a double layout with a half twist. Now that extra half twist doesn't just add difficulty, it totally changes the game by making it a blind landing. That is a massive leap in complexity that the old system just wasn't built to understand, let alone reward the way it should have been. So how did all this resistance actually shape her? Well, Biles' unique drive and her revolutionary approach, they weren't born in a vacuum. Nope. They were forged by resistance, both from her early life and from the very institution she was trying to conquer. And this pushback, it's what forced her to create an advantage that was simply irrefutable. It wasn't enough to be good. She had to be so good, she was undeniable. These early challenges, they created this uncompromising methodology. The instability of her early life in foster care, that instilled a deep need for control and structure, which she channeled into this meticulous, disciplined approach to her training. Her diagnosed hyperactivity, which, could have been a hindrance, was instead channeled into an incredible capacity for high-volume, high-energy training that just left her competitors in the dust. But really, the most significant resistance came from the sport itself. The institutional conservatism in scoring meant that her groundbreaking skills were consistently undervalued. The governing body, maybe they just didn't know how to score skills so far beyond the norm, would give them difficulty values that just didn't reflect the risk and innovation involved. So what did that do? It forced her to develop skills that weren't just better, but were mathematically and geometrically superior. She had to make the old standards totally irrelevant. And this constant pushback, it led to this pivotal realization. Instead of fighting the system on its own terms, she was going to create a new one. This was the birth of a personal philosophy that would change gymnastics forever, the Biles Law. So here's the crucial point. She decided to stop trying to win by the existing rules. Instead, she committed to systematically rewriting them with her own performance. The Biles Law is this belief that the rulebook isn't some fixed wall you run into. It's a dynamic variable, something you can manipulate and elevate through your own innovation. She saw the code of points not as a constraint, but as a target. She realized the only way to achieve true, lasting dominance was to create skills so difficult, so undeniably new, that the governing body would have no choice but to name them after her, literally cementing her innovation into the fabric of the sport. And this breaks it down perfectly. There are 3 core principles that make the Biles Law such a powerful, repeatable system.
First, the Geometry of Impossibility Mandate. It's all about creating skills that push the known physical limits to just max out the difficulty score. Think of her Yurchenko double pike vault, a move so dangerous no woman had ever even tried it in competition. Second, the mental health as safety protocol. Now, this is a radical idea that mental stability isn't a luxury, it's a non-negotiable requirement for safely pulling off these insane high-risk skills. It's recognizing your mind and body have to be perfectly in sync, where the consequences could be catastrophic. And third, the flawless execution of disruption doctrine. It's not enough to invent a new skill. You have to perform it so perfectly that you force the judges to value it highly, leaving them no room to take away points. Together, this is a blueprint for total domination.
But you know, a philosophy is nothing without action. So let's look at the rigorous daily systems she used to make the impossible possible. This is what we call the automation mandate. It's the practical engine that powered the Biles Law. It's the bridge between the idea of rewriting the rules and having the physical ability to actually go out and do it. This simple fraction right here, it represents the intense foundation of her physical system. And it's not just a number, it's a total commitment. 7 hours a day, 6 days a week. And look, this isn't just about working hard. This is about a volume of training so high that it achieves something called neurological automation. It's about repeating a skill thousands upon thousands of times until the muscle memory is so deeply ingrained, her body can execute these geometrically insane skills almost automatically. And that frees up her conscious mind to focus on the tiny, crucial details, like the exact position of her feet for the landing. This brings us to the two interconnected systems at the very heart of her success. You have the physical system, that 7 hours, 6-day mandate, which was all about building that neurological automation and the explosive strength she needed. But just as important was the mental system, the holistic recovery and mental grounding loop. This was a systematic integration of therapy, mental exercises, and super strict physical recovery protocols. This wasn't some afterthought, it was woven directly into her training schedule. This whole approach was the engine of her disruption, making sure her mind was stable enough to safely command the complex, high-risk skills her body was trained to perform. It's the practical application of her mental health as safety principle. So what was the result of this incredible integrated system? It wasn't just a pile of medals. No, it was the complete transformation of an entire sport. She didn't just win. She created a totally new standard for what excellence even means in gymnastics, showing everyone that true greatness is about so much more than points on a scoreboard. I mean, the data makes it pretty clear. With 37 world and Olympic medals, she became the most decorated gymnast, male or female, of all time. The numbers are just staggering, and they absolutely put her in a category of one. But as we've been talking about, her legacy extends so far beyond the numbers on a chart. The medals are just a symptom, right? They're the visible result of the deeper systemic change she brought to the sport. They're the evidence, not the essence, of her impact. Her true impact was institutional. By relentlessly pushing the limits of what anyone thought was possible, she literally forced the entire sport to raise its standards. Routines that were once considered impossible are now basically the baseline for elite competition. And, just as importantly, through her incredible courage to withdraw from events at the Tokyo Olympics to protect her well-being, she normalized athlete advocacy for mental health on the world's biggest stage. She proved that innovation, relentless preparation, and the moral courage to advocate for yourself, those are the true cornerstones of enduring excellence. So, what can we all take away from this? The Biles Law, it isn't just about gymnastics. It offers this incredibly powerful blueprint for anyone looking to challenge the established standards in their own field, whether that's art, science, business, or just your own personal development. It's really a mindset for transformative growth. The core lesson here is to ask yourself this question. Don't just focus on competing, focus on creating. The Biles Law teaches us to systematically identify the perceived limits and the unquestioned rules all around us, and then to focus all of our energy on creating work that is so much better, so much more innovative, that it makes the old way of doing things seem completely obsolete. It's about a commitment to continuous self-disruption, to making your own previous best your new baseline. In the end, Simone Biles built her legacy on the profound truth that genius is the courage to make your own rules. The Biles Law gave us a systematic blueprint for proving you can reinvent the standard and then break it again through relentless innovation and a focus on both physical and mental strength. It's a testament to the idea that true mastery isn't really about beating others. It's about this internal, relentless pursuit of a higher standard, driven by one immutable rule. The only thing harder than setting a new standard is breaking your own record.